It's officially too fucking hot to be in this robe. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Robe Reviews, the show where one opinionated man in a bathrobe watches and critiques movies. Bet you didn't think I was coming back. And despite some pressing matters that I had to attend to, I did not stop watching movies. So now I have too many movies that I need to review, which leads me to one eventuality. I'm going to do an episode of Hot Takes. Quick impressions, the good, the bad, the scores, and any addendums I feel are necessary along the way. So I've got my robe tied tight, drink at the ready, so without any further ado, let's get into it. First on the list is a classic that I've promised for a long time now, and because someone I know hadn't seen it, I went back and I rewatched Forrest Gump. And I've probably seen Forrest Gump well over 100, 200, God knows how many times at this point. But there's a reason why that this movie won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Because it is a timeless classic and an enduring adventure movie that is just heartfelt and incredible the whole way through. The movie is just genius on so many levels. I know every line, I know every scene by now, and seeing again it still puts a smile on my face. And it keeps me spellbound through the 2-hour and 20-minute runtime. This movie just keeps you locked in and yanks your heartstrings 100 times, 200 times over. The movie and story in every way is amazing. The realism is incredible. The animations are incredible, especially for a movie that came out in 95. There is too much good to say about this movie. And if you haven't seen it already, God bless your soul. Thinking about it critically, this movie almost shouldn't work. Because of the time scale, because of the jumps, because of the varying situations that Forrest Gump finds himself in. We go from Vietnam to ping pong to shrimping to cross-country running, and somehow it still works. It's just barely glued together and sprinkled with enough magic dust that it fools all of us. This is a near-perfect movie in my book, and always recommend watching, and it gets a near-perfect score of 97.
Wow.
Maybe I should have waited on the highest score and went to the last one. Oh well. Well, from that high, we got ourselves a serious disappointment because I watched Reminiscence. I hadn't been to theaters since COVID started, and I was looking for a really great movie to really entice me to get into a room full of a bunch of strangers. And I really wanted to see this movie that is written and directed by Lisa Joy, who is a co-creator of Westworld alongside the other famous Nolan, Jonathan. But thank God I did not go to the theaters to watch this, and I queued this up on HBO Max because it was awful. The plot was illogical and emotionless in the worst kinds of ways, and I just didn't care about Hugh Jackman's character at all. His motivations for jumping through all these hoops and going on the investigation he did just really didn't add up. The fact this fictional world was flooded had nothing to do with the story. The script was clunky and awkward, and the cool sci-fi element that really could have made this excel ended up just being a useless detective tool. To top it off, the action scenes were really horribly done and didn't seem like they were thought through at all. It was just style over substance in so many ways. I think Hugh Jackman deserves better. This movie gets an avoid watching recommendation, and unfortunately a score of 64.
Nope.
For the next movie, I actually did go to the theaters to see it, and I went to see Free Guy. And I'm glad I did, because it was exactly the cheap entertainment that I was looking for that day. I had very low expectations going in, and while this movie never exceeded them, they met them exactly where they were. I got some laughs, the action was pretty fun to watch, and Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds is always entertaining. However, a lot of the dialogue and the scenes can be really forced, and especially towards the end this is true. The climax was way over the top, a lot of plot points were really convenient, and just generally the logic in the scenes didn't hold together. All in all though, this was an original movie with some fun moments, which is something I'll always take over remakes and sequels and superhero movies. So while I don't plan on ever rewatching this one, it was a good time while it lasted, and it gets a score of 73.
Wow.
Only up from here, don't worry, because I was pleasantly surprised by The Suicide Squad. Again, I had low expectations and never thought this movie was going to exceed them, but thankfully it did. And the reason why is because this movie knows exactly what it is. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy and other films, made an incredibly self-aware movie. It's just constantly in on the joke with us. Action scenes are purposely way overblown. Cameo characters die almost immediately in ridiculous ways. The dialogue is over the top, the plot is over the top, and all on purpose. A lot of dialogue and commentary is actually poking fun at the movie itself, and it's irreverent and fun and plays with the cliches that we all expect to see in movies like this. Because it never takes itself seriously, it's way more fun for the audience. The story is pretty weak and simple and predictable for the most part, and the climax is actually pretty underwhelming. But the ride along the way has some great comedy and actually got some really big laughs from me. And for an action comedy, the action scenes were actually really good. Never thought I'd see the day, but I had a really good time watching this, and a surprising score of 82.
Wow.
So last, but certainly not least, is an older movie from 2016 called Captain Fantastic. And I feel like I have to draw some attention to this movie because it flew under the radar for me and I think everyone else. This is an indie movie and a small drama where a father, played by Viggo Mortensen, raises a family off the grid, and then that family is then forced to re-enter into society when there is a tragedy in the family. This movie is not cheap entertainment, and it is not a bucket of laughs, but it is real, and it is genuine, and it is witty, and it is moving in all kinds of ways. The story really investigates and challenges all sorts of strange American values that people hold and really fail to question. This includes materialism, capitalism, religion, institutions, reliance on technology, things of that nature. Its dialogue and characters are superbly done, and Viggo Mortensen is incredible in this role, which is why he got the Oscar nom for Best Actor in 2016. And in the end, this is a movie that makes you think and reflect and consider things in your own life. And if you know me by now, all those things are a telltale sign of a great movie. It is an indie movie, so keep in mind that it's going to be a little slow and the scale is very small. The plot is very simple, and the climax as well can lack a bit of cleverness and be a bit disappointing. But this movie is well worth a watch. Go ahead and take a look, because I'm giving it a score of 86.
Wow.
And those are the hot takes for now. But hopefully I'll be back with a full-fledged review sometime soon. And on that note, a lot more movies to watch and a lot more reviews to be had. I'll see you guys in the next one.